Okay, so data visualization, what you're going to learn, what is data visualization? It's actually one of the most like essential part in data analysis, because in any field, the researchers, when they will work on some data, right? It could be STEM research or anything. Researchers will work on data, right? So it could, even in the literature, they work on data only. Even in computer science, IT, it's all about data. Research is all about analyzing something through the data. So when we do that, we do any kind of research, researcher has to get the insight into the data. That is the structure of the data, like what is the underlying structure and how the different variables are related to each other. Okay, maybe I can share you some of the data. So look at this data. This data is collected from my BCI lab, where we are doing attention pattern analysis task. If you look at this data, you can see the time. So the one column data is time and the recording of the EEG signal for the time. So we are this one is just recorded with one single electrode, but if we have 64 electrode, then there will be 64 columns with each recording, right? So this is this is for the EEG research. But if you take any kind of research, there will be data of different type. If you're doing image processing research, then the data is going to be the image, where each and every pixel value is going to be the data, right? So what we are trying to understand in the data analysis processes, in one part, we will try to visualize the structure of the data, how the values are related to one another. Okay, for example, if you take this case, how this is related to one another, it is because so in the previous, okay, I'll open the data once again. You can see this time period, this is what recorded in the second. So like microsecond, it is collected for microsecond. So what is the time period? So what each second, how the data is collected. Okay, so the time, and in that time period, what is the signal? So that's what is shown there. Okay, so the relationship between the variable, that is what we are going to analyze in the data visualization. The structure of the data and the relationship between the data is what we are going to analyze. How we are going to do that? We are going to do that by using mapping the coordinates. How many columns are there in the it's mostly will be in table format. All kind of data, most of the data will be in the table format. Even if you take image, it's still table, right? So the rows and column value, row can be in one row and the column index can be, so anything can be put together as a table. Okay, so how to map the coordinates between the data? So how through coordinate mapping the coordinates, we are creating the graph. Okay, so we are going to do the visualization. We are going to learn, simply saying, we are going to learn lot of graphing techniques, lot of plotting techniques. So we are going to do the summarization data and insight of the data by using the graphs and plots. So in Python, there are different libraries are available, like Matplotlib, Seaborn, Plotly, Cufflinks. There are I will not say hundreds, but there are numerous libraries of that that will help us to do the plotting. And we are going to learn, you're going to learn some important popular Python libraries, which will help us to do the plotting. That means someone has already created the functions and put it together as a package, and we are just going to call the packages and perform some, call the functions and perform some plotting operations. So each library has its own advantages and disadvantages. Okay, and it has its own feature. Depending on the problem, we will select different library. So in this course, you're going to learn Matplotlib, Plotly, and Seaborn. And Pandas and NumPy are not data visualization library, but that is general data manipulation library you may need to use in between to manipulate the data. Okay, so you're just going to learn Matplotlib, Plotly, and Seaborn. These are the three basic library that you're going to practice in this class. So let's see some introduction about this library, then we'll start the practice. What is Matplotlib? Matplotlib is a popular data visualization library. Particularly, it is focusing on 2D plotting. Some libraries are there which are specialized in 3D plotting, but Matplotlib is mostly known and popular for the 2D plotting techniques and functions that it has. It was the first release was in 2003, and so far this is the most popular 2D plotting library. So it has a huge interactive environment. Give me a minute. It has the huge plotting environment. Introduction. So it's not going. So Matplotlib, that's what we're going to practice. Okay, one of the libraries that we are going to practice. It's an interactive library. So using Matplotlib, we can create a different kind of plots, like a simple bar chart, pie chart, histograms, scatter plots, error charts. Okay, these are popular, but there are hundreds of options available that we can visualize the data in many format. Okay, so these are the popular functionality that is will be used in Matplotlib. And Plotly is another web-based. It's not a app-based. It's a web-based. It's known for its web-based structure. It's a web-based data visualization tool that can be applied. You can just run it in Jupyter Notebook or any web application server. Through server, you can just run it in server in real-time server, or it can be saved as a individual HTML file. You can run it. So Plotly is mostly known for web-based data visualization. That you want to do the visualization real time, then you can go for the Plotly. So Plotly provide more than 40 unique charting types like scatter plots, histograms. Histogram scatter plots, these bar chart are very common, basic. Even without using the library, you can simply do it with the basic Python packages. Okay. But it depends on what we want to do with that library. Based on that, we can just pick different library. We are just going to practice different libraries so that it will get introduced to different different options in different libraries. And the third library that we are going to practice is probably we will practice this first before others. Seaborn. Seaborn is the data visualization library. It is based on Matplotlib. That is on the top of Matplotlib. They added some more content because Matplotlib is only for 2D. So they have added some 3D features, that is Seaborn. And it is closely integrated with NumPy and Python. We'll see about NumPy and Python. Sorry, NumPy and Pandas. It closely works with these two packages. These are the data. It's hugely helpful data manipulation packages. Okay, so we'll see that in detail, but that works with NumPy and Pandas. So Seaborn is actually, it works with particularly with the table kind of structure. Okay, so one operation called data frame and array-based concept, it mostly work with the array-based concept and the table content. Okay, so it has high-level interactive facility that can help the user to get informative statistical graphics in more different customized way. So it also include a lot of sorting facilities. As you can see, bar chart, pie chart, histograms are common in any kind of plotting. Okay, so it has the main thing about Seaborn is its customization. The color palette, you can choose different color palette through the interactivity, or through coding, you can just customize the color pattern in the plotting. So next we're going to see about the package called Pandas. So Pandas is actually not a data visualization library, but it is data analysis and manipulation library. If you're going to work on data science, that is the first thing that you will do. It's the unavoidable thing. Like Pandas it's hugely helpful. It has a lot of functionality available to perform data analysis and manipulation. Okay, so but even though it is not a data visualization library, it is capable of creating basic plots like bar chart, plot, the pie plot, histograms. All this basic plotting can be done by using pandas itself. Particularly the main functions why data scientists will go for pandas is to analyze the data, clean the data, explore the data, and manipulate the data. Okay, so particularly it is known for clearing the messy data. Wherever there is redundancy, if you want to remove the redundancy, you can simply call the functions which is already built by someone. We can simply call it and remove the redundancy and remove them. Like it can just clear the messy data and make it more readable. For that, we will use pandas. And easy to manage. It's a very interesting library. There are a lot of hundreds of functions, useful functions that we cannot skip when it comes to data cleaning. It makes extremely easy to manipulate the data because whenever it is in the tabular format, it will be easy for us to access and look at the data, get the insight of the data. So mostly pandas is most useful, but the tabular kind of structure. Okay, and the next library that we are going to see is NumPy library. NumPy means numerical Python. NumPy, numerical Python. It is a Python library that is mostly used to work with arrays. In Python, actually, we have lists that we can work with array, right? You have a separate module in list. You know how you can use list concept to work with array, but this is kind of more advanced. The reason is in in list we are saving it in the main memory, normal memory, right? But in the NumPy, how it stores the data, it put it in one continuous place so that the process access can be very easy, very efficient. Okay, so by accessing the data and manipulating the data will be very efficient. Because of this, NumPy is more better than using the inbuilt list concept. Okay, so other than that, NumPy is so popular when it comes to the data analysis thing, like performing mathematical logical operation in array. So if you want to do that in simple number, it is easy. But when you need to do that logical operations in array, it is going to be difficult, right? So you can do that easily with the functions provided by NumPy. Lot of transforms like Fourier transform, shape manipulation in terms of data and all these things, linear algebra, all those things that you learned in calculus 1, whatever you learned in calculus, most of the things you can just apply it by using NumPy. Okay, so it has the built-in function, lot of built-in functionality for the linear algebra, random number generation kind of functionality. So all those things are that built in. So simply you can use NumPy and just call the function and get it done. Okay, so NumPy is often used with the SciPy, scientific Python package, and Matplotlib for plotting. And the combination of the Matplotlib and NumPy will replace MATLAB. Have you heard about MATLAB? It's a popular computing tool. Okay, so mostly I used it for image processing, but with the combination of the Python, NumPy, and Matplotlib, we can just what to say? It's more useful than using my MATLAB, because MATLAB is paid one. It is not open source. It's paid one. But with the combination of NumPy, Python, and this Matplotlib, you can perform all the things that you can do with MATLAB. So those are the library that you're going to learn, and let's do it in practice. Okay, so please open a Jupyter notebook file. Please open a Jupyter notebook file. First, the library that we have discussed in the lecture, NumPy, Panda, Cban, do you remember those? So all those library, we are going to, as I told you, it is already the package which is developed by someone. We are just going to import it like how we import the other packages. Okay, by using the import keyword, import NumPy as NP. You are familiar with the as keyword. We used it in the database and we used it in many occurrences. As is the keyword that will help you to give nickname. Okay, so instead of specifying numpy.numpy. It's in Python, everything is object. You're creating string variable object, your list variable object, integer variable, everything is object in Python. Okay, So if you're importing NumPy, that will be imported as package. That means object. So then only you can use the functions which is associated with that object. So you're importing, just do that. Import NumPy as NP, import pandas as PD. You can do it along with me because after this is going to be the lab session and you have to run it. You have to run the code. So open the Jupyter notebook file and import these libraries. Import Cbond as SNS. I just gave some nicknames for all the libraries. And then in my matplotlib, the library which we discussed, in that we are going to just import the pyplot option. There are a lot of things available. We're just going to import pyplot options and we are just importing it as plot. So we don't need to always say that matplotlib.pyplot. We can simply say plot. So these are the nicknames. Okay, and then NumPy also we are using. From NumPy, we are particularly interested in random. So random is the function. From the random also, we are going to import only 3 functionalities. Rand in functionality, that is floating point, random. Just randomly select any floating point. By using this function, you might have used it many times. Rand in function from NumPy will help you to create random number generator of floating point, decimal. And then rand int will help you to pick a random integer and uniform sample. So these are the functions that we are going to use as part of this practice. So import everything that you need for this. So the next one, for the first practice, we're going to use pandas, some of the basic pandas features. And for that, I want you to understand this data frame method because that is what we are going to use a lot for the few practices. So if you click on to this, maybe I will share the PDF of this file. If you click on, if simply do search pandas and data frame, it will direct you to this page, pandas data frame. If you do a search, Google search, it will direct you to this page where you can look at the syntax of the data frame. What is data frame? Data frame will help you to convert any data into tabular form, into the table format. Okay. And it can take any, these are the different parameters that you can use. Data, obviously, you have to provide the data that needs to be converted into tabular format. So that is the first parameter. And whether you want to do the indexing for the data, that means customized indexing. If you want to do the customized indexing, you have to use the index parameter. And then columns is the parameter where you want to give any column name and you want to specify any particular data type. Okay. So these are the stuff that you can do. Copy means copy data from inputs. Okay. So mostly you will not use that very often. But these the column index, these could be useful. So we are going to use this data frame. That means we are going to create a table from the given data. That data can be anything. The data can be dictionary. You learn dictionary, right? In the first few weeks, you learn different data types. You learn dictionary, you learn list. Okay. So what we are going to do, we are going to convert all different types of data into the table format. So let's first do this. Maybe I'll open a new file and I'll do it with you so that it won't be too fast for you. Okay, so first thing that we are going to do is we are going to create a simple dictionary data, and that data we're going to convert into tabular format by using the data frame method. Okay, so how to do that? Let's create a variable. So when I do it along with you, it'll be easy for you. That's why I'm doing it. So that I can recall the concepts that you learned. It's like a review. Days, if you remember the dictionary concept, is like it can be with each data element is separated by colon, right? And then days, I'm just saving it as an array variable. Array means it should be separated by comma and nesting. Okay, and then another dictionary element, it is going to be index. That is the value for that is going to be, I'm going to set another array for that. Recall the dictionary concept that you learned. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to create table first. We are going to create a first table, right? So we are going to use this pandas data frame. How did we import that panda here? We have imported and we have given the nickname PD, right? So do we need to give pandas dot, or we can simply give PD, right? PD means we have imported pandas as PD. And if you look at the syntax, what is that syntax? The function name. Since it is function name, there should not be any typo error or uppercase or lowercase. It should be the same. Data frame function, which is part of the pandas library. So the functionality of this function, data frame function or method, is it will convert the given data into tabular format. So what should be passed here? To pass it, we have to pass that variable week. Okay, and what we want to print, we want to see whether the variable tab 1 that we have just created has that has converter. PD is not defined because I didn't define it before. Let me define it first because I have just copied and pasted from the previous. Let me first import all the packages, and then let me first import the NumPy and all the packages so that I can run it. I have run it. And then I'm going to create okay. So I have imported the libraries, needed libraries, packages, and then I have created a dictionary. So this is the example to convert the dictionary into what? Table. So by using data frame, your data frame to convert the dictionary to what? Table. Shall we do one more? Shall we work on the list? Let's work on some list. So we are going to convert list. Okay. So data frame to convert the list to table. Shall we create a list? Let's call a list called course. And this is going to be the list. So maybe the courses that you have taken, DP1, DP, data programming 2 course, and then web page development course, and then database management course, analytics programming course. Analytics programming and database. So these are the courses that we have created. Now we want to see how it looks when we convert it as data. How to convert? Call the PD. That's how we pandas library, and function. What is the function name? Data frame. And then if you use the IDE, Visual Studio Code, it will automatically give all the kind of pandas, the functionality that is associated with that. Even here, you can just use the shift control so that you can get the functionality. I'll teach it to you next week. Oops. You can see it just converted it into tabular format. So this is how we can convert. So let's create one more. Then we're going to create history plotting. Again, we just converted the given data into the tabular format, but it will be more efficient when it is in tabular format. Converting the table into the plotting is more easy. So we're just going to create one more list. Then let's move on to plotting. So let's add some data. One. I just want to give good explanation for you in terms of plotting. So I'm just creating a simple data so that you can get better visualization in the plotting. Okay, so I'm just creating a simple list, and I'm just going to create a table. I'm going to name it the table 3. And I'm just going to call the data frame function to convert the given data into table. And then let's see how the tab 3 looks. You can see it has that. If you want to give column name, you can give the column name. Let's do that in our next practice. But right now, let's try to convert it into histogram. So have you heard about the histogram? Histogram is like, it will give the frequency of occurrences. For example, if you take one occurred 3 times, 2 occurred some 4 times, and 3 occurred 4 times, 4 occurred 4 times, and 5 occurred 5 times. So how many occurrences? What is the occurrences of a data? So that can be done by histogram. So to plot a histogram, we are just going to, what is the name of that? Tab 3, right? That's where we have saved. So tab 3 is the function. On that, we are going to create plot function. It's from the pandas, but we can import the pandas because what we have done in tab 3, we have imported pandas in tab 3. So by accessing tab 3, you can import the functions. That is, plot is the functions of pandas. Already you have associated pandas in this variable object tab 3. So you can simply apply it. You see, it shows the occurrences. 1 occurs 3 times, 2 occurs 6 times, 3 occurs 4 times, 4 occurs 4 times, and 5 occurs 6 times. That is histogram, occurrences, number of occurrences. Okay, we'll do one more thing in data frame, then we'll continue it in next class. The one more thing that we are going to do, if you recall, we have already imported the random n library here, right? That is part of NumPy library, which has random in that will celebrate as just create random integers or floating point. Let's work with the floating point. So let's say data frame. Let's name the variable data frame, and let's call the PD, and then let's call the functions data frame function. And we're going to call, we have already imported the random library here. So we are just going to call random n. What is random n? It's floating point. It will create 10 floating points. We are just going to create a floating random between 10 to 4. 10 to 4. 10, 4 decimal. That's the meaning of this. And this time we are going to use the columns. If you see, there are one more parameter that we can see. The data frame has a lot of parameters. One important parameter is columns. Okay, you can just give the column name here. Let's try columns here. We're just going to give column name here. Let's say columns. Let's give the column as an array. A, B is the another column, C is the another column, and D is the another column. 4 columns. 4 means 4 column it is going to create. 10 and 4 columns. This is array. This is the column name that we have given. Okay, so it's all good. Okay, so now I'm just going to look at the data. So note down this function. In pandas, there is a function called head function. The purpose of the head function is to look at the data. Okay, so head function will display the data. How many rows that you want to display? If you want to display 10 rows, you can just give 10. Or if you just want to display the first 5 rows, you can simply just give df.head5. It will just display you 5. So random number generator has created some floating point values, 10 rows, and that has 4 columns that we are just displaying it by using the head function that will just display the first whatever number that you have given, that will pick it and display it. Okay, so this is the let's do some more plotting before we wrap up. Okay, So in the data, let's apply some plotting. df, we have saved it in the variable called df, and let's apply the plot function. We have applied the plot function, right? So plot function and parameter, kind is the parameter. Okay. So there are different number of parameters are there. If you want to see what are the different parameters that is supported, then you can just explore the data frame library. That you can see kind. There are board chart, line chart, histogram, different type of charts you can create. So you have to give the kind parameter to pick that particular type. So this time let's pick a bar type. Okay. So for bar type, you have to say the kind parameter value is going to be bar. You see, for the data that the random generator has generated some decimal points between, like, out of decimal points, 10 rows with 4 columns. So you're just plotting that data. A, B, C, D, 4 columns. That denotes the 4 columns. That means 4 colors denotes 4 columns. And 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 10 rows. Okay. So this is how we can use data frame functions. So in today's lab, you got introduced to different data visualization libraries and how to import these libraries and how you can start using. Particularly today, we focused on this data frame function, which can convert any data into tabular form. And then we saw some basic plotting function from pandas. Pandas is not a data visualization library, but it supports some basic data visualization like plotting, bar, kind, these basic bars, that these basic graphs that you can use by using pandas. Okay, so in the next lab, we're going to see some more exercise.